Hi, this is Amanda with PotWater Presents, and tonight we have Angie. I'm going to say your name wrong. Lickliter?
Oh my gosh, 100% right on.
No way!
Yes, that never happens. So, hey,
I was going to say, I know I'm going to say it wrong, but I'm going to go for it anyway.
you did say that.
And just so everybody knows, we are recording, and Angie has consented to being recording for this interview. And I have made it very clear that I do mess up quite a bit. So she's prepared for it. We're not going to cut it. This is unedited and unfiltered. So away we go. Thanks, Angie, for joining me tonight. I appreciate you coming on my channel. And to be honest, you're my very first interview. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And you said we chatted a little bit earlier, and you said you're actually in Arizona right now. How's the weather there today?
Cold. I have a sweatshirt on. Like, it's unseasonably cold, like high of 50 degrees here. What? It's so weird. We came here to be warm.
Right?
What's going on? Yeah, but
Well, hopefully it warms up because we're going to be heading south soon ourselves.
Yeah.
So
I think next week it's going to warm up. It's just kind of, crazy like the world.
Yes, it is. So to dive right in, I did read a little bit on your page about you. And you got into this because you had Crohn's and we're looking for some alternative remedies. So do you want to give everybody a little bit history about yourself, please?
Sure. And you said get into this. Do you mean into cannabis school, or do you mean into cannabis, or what do you do?
Whatever you want to get into, girl. The stage is yours.
Okay, sounds good. And thank you for having me on here. I don't share my story enough. Like, I think we all have stories that can help other people. And I always tell people it's kind of like having a baby. You forget the pain, and I forget the pain, the things I've been through, but that can help other people. So I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease in my late 20s. I think it was about 28. It's one of those things, I don't remember the date, but I've had it over 25 years, had Crohn's disease. And I was, I followed doctor's orders, did the steroid. I can't even tell you the amount of drugs I was on, lots of different drugs here and there, and I ended up being on a biologic drug called Remicade. And those type of drugs are produced in a lab. I think like 9 months. They're very expensive. I was on those for years. 2-hour infusions every 8 weeks, take off work, go to a center, get infused for 2 hours. And at that time in my life, I wasn't a person that worked out. I didn't know, back then we didn't even have the internet. Honestly, I'm like, God, I feel like I'm 100 years old. That was the Stone Age, right? And I just followed doctor's orders because that's what you're supposed to do. That's what we say we're supposed to do. And at one point I met some ladies that did like a raw coaching. They were coaches, like health coaches, and they taught people how to eat raw and like eat right. And I'm like, oh, and I remember I sold old patio furniture to afford their coaching. It was $300. And it's still like a joke. I'm still friends with them, but I'm on a raw vegan diet. And I'm not proposing that anybody does that or that's the way to eat. It was just a decision I had made at the time. And I went off all my medication for my Crohn's disease. I said, I'm feeling great. And again, I'm not saying that that's what people should do. I'm not telling anybody to go off their medications. That's my full disclosure on that. But for me, that was a decision I made. I was great for about 6 or 7 years. Like, I started working out. I actually became a health and fitness coach myself. Did the paleo thing, trying to find my way through the health and fitness, and making myself better. And I was way better. I mean, life was great. I wasn't on any medications. Then all of a sudden I started having what's called flare-ups. Like, my bowels were starting to get inflamed. It was bad. And it was probably about 3 or 4 years of just getting worse and worse and worse. And I was in denial. I was in big time denial. I did not want to think that my disease was back. Like, I'm like, no, it's been good. Like, I'm doing all the right stuff. What the hell's going on? And, having to go to the hospital with 103 fever, throwing up bile, just bad. I was really, really sick. At one point I was down to 111 pounds. I'll fast forward through all that gory details, but I was down to 111 pounds. Started going back to the doctor. Not that I hadn't seen a doctor, but he, tried to put me on all these other biologic drugs. Nothing was working. then I switched doctors, and we finally did an MRI, and I found out I had functional issues with my bowels. I had looping, my bowels were all twisted. I had fistulas. And at this point I was like, I don't know what the hell this is. Like, I know a lot about my disease. I had done a lot of research, but I just hadn't been in the place where I knew what that was. And fistulas, I always tell people, it's like your bowels are basically so inflamed, they tunnel to another piece of bowel. And so it's like, let's say your highway, your major highway, like a loop, a lot of cities have loops around them.
Right.
One of those is shut down, and then everybody's got to divert inward. So, and then find another loop. So you can imagine what the pain I was going through. And then I also had, that's fistulas. And then the looping is when you're, imagine like a garden hose, and it gets so inflamed, it flips, you know, it gets filled with pressure. So they were like twisted. So there
Oh
was
my gosh, you poor thing.
yeah, I had got lots of inflammation, and I, you know, like I said, I was in denial. And so after finding those things out, and I was told I had cancer, a doctor just said, yeah, based on your MRI and what this, and what the people that read the MRIs say, I think that you maybe have malignant cancer. I mean, just casually like that, like, I think you may. My husband, he wasn't even with me. I was with my mom. I was like, I'd been so sick. I'd been in bed for 9 months. Like, I was so sick. I mean, I couldn't get out of the house.
Girl.
Yeah, it was bad. So anyway, the cannabis part of my story is about to come into this, I promise.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Okay. And I will squirrel all over with my story because I don't have my timeline in front of me. I just kind of go with the flow with my story. So that was
the perfect place.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
think
we
that was
rolled
in
here.
February of 2018. So let me back up 1 month to January of 2018. And at this point I was on hydrocodone. My husband had to be at work at 6 o'clock in the morning. And that's about the time I was falling asleep. I was up all night, rocking on all fours, hot baths, whatever I could. I mean, you can imagine the pain I was in. Waiting to kind of find out what we were going to do. And prior to that, as far as a job, I had owned a coffee shop, and I decided to sell it. Thankfully, I was starting to get sick at that time. And it was just, for my future, what my husband and I wanted to do with our lives, that owning a coffee shop just wasn't, it was, yeah, I'd owned it for 7 years. Everything was great. It was just time to sell. So I'd sold that, and I had done it. I was doing network marketing. I was a Beachbody coach. Health and fitness, that's what got me into all that. And I worked out at home. I was healthy. I mean, I've got pictures, and I was very fit. Then I got sick. And then, so I had I couldn't coach anybody. I didn't feel like getting on the internet. I didn't feel like being in front of anybody on a video or whatever. And that was okay. Like, we knew it was okay. We were prepared for me to not work anymore. Right. Cause like, I'm sick.
Sorry, my kid's phone's going off.
No, you're fine. Do you need to get that?
It's my kid's phone. I'm just gonna set it out real quick so that way it doesn't keep going.
Oh, gotcha.
My phone broke and I had to borrow hers.
Oh,
I apologize.
for that.
I'll be right back.
Oh my gosh, I love the chair.
Okay, we're back.
I love your chair. Is that a robe or a chair? What is that on the back of your?
I have a robe.
Oh my gosh, how cute.
And this is from I'm part of Society's Plants, High Society's Mamas, Canna Moms. And so this was one of the things in the subscription box that I got. And then this is our fuzzy members jacket.
Oh my gosh, you're like a gang.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also Pink Sush is another one that they have their own jackets, so I'm going to be joining up with them too, just because they're all about fun and cannabis, and who so yeah, that was all part of that's part of what got me into doing my tea parties. Is Society Plant has their own CBD tea, and I fell in love with it, and I was like, everybody needs to try this. So that's what I do on the side.
Okay, so where was it? Okay, so
anyway, back to you. Sorry.
No, it's fine. And stop me at any time. So January of 2018, I was at home in my pajamas. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. and I know what pajamas I was even wearing because I was home every day. I just, I was sick. Hydrocodone couldn't, my girlfriends would come over and chit chat with me or something and check in on me. But, because I couldn't eat. Can you imagine if your bowels are like that, like trying to get food there? Like, that's why I was 110 pounds at that time. It was crazy. So I'm sitting there and I'm in a Crohn's disease forum because that's where I would turn, like on Facebook. That's the only thing that, one of the good things that's come out of social media is forums and things like that for support. And I see somebody post about CBD. Hey, has anybody tried this XYZ brand of CBD? It's really helped with my Crohn's. And I was like, the funny thing was that exact day I had just received Amazon a bottle of CBD oil. I had never tried it. I got it for myself and my dog. You're going to laugh. It was a big quart like this of like green water. It was shit. But I didn't know what I didn't know back then, right? My husband worked for the federal government, did drug testing. Everybody's like, I was in Kansas. Nothing was legal there. Still isn't. Ray's like, oh, you should try to smoke pot for your pain. Da, da, da. I'm like, he does drug testing and it's not legal here. And I'm like, I'm sure I could find it, but no, like that was high school. I smoked pot in high school, but that was just not part of our lifestyle because my husband worked for the government. So, somebody had said, hey, you really should try this. I'm not promoting it. I'm not selling it, but you should look this up. So look up the CBD product. I won't name the name, but I was like, and it had network marketing. It was a network marketing CBD company. And I was like, oh, I don't know anybody that's doing this. Like, if this could help me and it could, oh my gosh, like I had landed on a goal. It was just like, boom. I got on their company website. I ordered it right away. I got it. Within 2 days of taking it, I left the house. And I hadn't left the house and like really got up and like put makeup on and like went to shopping. I mean, I remember doing a video. I gotta try to find that video. I was like in tears. I had to leave the house. I mean, it really changed how I felt. Now I'm still taking pain pills. I'm still sick. I'm still eating pills, whatever. But I felt that bottle of CBD oil was hope. It was hope in a bottle.
Right.
It really was. That was January of 2018. I, of course, took it every day. I was taking 750 milligram bottle. Took it every day, started selling it from in my pajamas at home, and started making a little money, which made me feel better. And I had surgery in April and a double bowel resection, meaning I had my large intestines where they said I had cancer, which I did not. It was an abscess. It was did not have cancer. But I will tell you, I was supposed to come out of that surgery with an ostomy bag. Like I was fitted. I bought new underwear. My girlfriends had bought me one-piece swimsuits. Like I was prepared mentally to have an ostomy bag. I had the circles written on me going into surgery. And I'll talk about after surgery here in just a second. But my surgeon, I love her. She is okay with me taking CBD oil up to the day of surgery. She said, no, I totally believe in that. You should keep taking it. If it's helping you, you take it. It's not going to affect your surgery. You'll be fine. I was supposed to be in the hospital for 7 days because I had a 5-hour surgery. I was supposed to wake up with an ostomy bag. Wow. I woke up from surgery after 5 hours because they said there was a lot. I mean, I had abscesses. They took a lot out of me. And the first thing I said, and I'll bleep out what I really said because I don't know how child friendly you want this to be.
You can go. My husband has a shirt that says parental advisory. I say fuck a lot, so you can go all the way.
I love you. I fucking love the fuck word. I woke up and I said, "Where's my ostomy bag? What the fuck?" And they were like, "You don't need one." They're like, besides those 2 areas that we had to cut out, your bowels are so healthy. Basically, they cut out the 2 affected areas that were looped in fistulas. And the surgeon was like, I went through everything else. Like, she goes, you have a lot of small intestine. She goes, I found no evidence of disease in your bowels. And so we didn't have to give you an ostomy bag. What the fuck? Like, what? Yeah. I mean, yeah. And just like having a baby, you forget that. I forget this part of my story. And it's so huge. Like, nobody can say it was the CBD oil. I can't say it was exactly that. But in my heart, I know that changed the direction of my surgery. I was out of the
Mhm.
hospital in 3 days instead of 7. I went to my follow-up 2 weeks later, walking upright. The nurses were like, what the? I mean, I was a healthy person. Besides having Crohn's disease, I was working out when I could. I was trying to do the right
Right.
things. So that's the part of my cannabis that started the part of my cannabis story. I so believed in
Right.
CBD at that time. I mean, it was 0.03% less THC. But it changed my life. I mean, you know, it just, it did. And,
Yeah. That's amazing.
yeah, I'm just kind of like tongue tied. So that's why I mean, when I talk about it, I go, what the hell? That's really powerful shit. No
Yeah, it
pun,
is.
no pun intended. So, that was April of 2018. I had a follow-up colonoscopy of October of 2018 because, it had been like a year before that because we'd done other tests to find all the, MRIs and stuff. Colonoscopies wouldn't touch what I had going on. Couldn't even get through to find the stuff they needed to find with the scope because it was so swollen, like shut. They said no evidence of any disease, and I haven't seen a GI doctor since.
Oh,
Four
that
and a
is
half years.
amazing.
Yeah, my mom's like, you need to go get a colonoscopy. And I'm like, I don't want them putting shit up my ass if I don't need them to. Like, no, I probably need to. I probably will later this year, just going for routine. But
Right.
what I want to say right now about that is what people don't understand is what they give you to get a colonoscopy is the worst possible thing for your bowels. Miralax
Mm.
is so bad for you. It is horrible for you. So that just note to anybody that takes it on a daily basis to make them poop, or I know a lot of people that do that, it is horrible for your bowels.
Mm.
So had gone to gut health, holistic gut health school when I got sick. I was starting it and I was so sick. We talked about life events earlier in school and things. I quit. I mean, I couldn't do anything. I was so sick and I'd kind of forgotten about it. And then I found out about cannabis coaching school. And that happened. And at the same time, the lady that ran the holistic gut health school that I went to, she popped up on my Instagram. And I was like, I hadn't heard from her. And I'm like, wait a minute. I need to go back and finish that. And I can do this cannabis coaching thing too. Like, I messaged her and she's like, oh, I'll let you pop back in, just pay the fee or whatever, small fee, because we've updated, all the books have changed. It's been 3 years, whatever. So that's when I found CCI and all that stuff just came into play. So crazy. So now I use cannabis. I'm a big proponent of CBG. Learned about CBG. And I have to tell you a real quick story. Am I talking too long? Am I okay?
No, absolutely not. The stage
So
is
you
yours,
know about
honey.
CBG. I know you know all about CBG from
Mhm.
cannabis school. So I was like, CB what? Like all the science stuff, like this is crazy. So I started making and taking CBG after learning out how to do it. I had already started experimenting with kitchen stuff, but I found out how to make CBG and CBD. I make my own, both of them. And I started taking CBG and I started to have not pain. I thought it was pain. I was scared. Sensations on my left and right side, right where I'd had surgery. And I'm just thinking, what is going on? This isn't pain. Oh my God, am I getting sick again? Like you're always worried that you're going to get sick again. I mean, that's a fear that anybody that's
Mhm.
got a disease, right? And I circled back with my AK pot partner at the time. And we were just talking and chatting. And I said, God, I don't know what's going on. I'm having these weird. And she said, oh my God, don't you remember what we learned in class about CBG? It can help repair nerve damage.
Ah,
I just got the chills again.
that's
I'm
amazing.
like, oh my gosh,
You're
it
right.
is like affected. I mean, it was exactly in the spots where they had removed some of my bowels. Like, like it was repairing or just doing something down there. I don't know. But I backed off.
Wow.
I backed off how much I was taking, or I stopped taking it and it went away. And so then I just eased myself back into it and I've never had a pain since. Or that wasn't even a pain, a nerve like
Right.
tingling, like that
Yeah.
neuropathy type
Now, for
tingling.
those who, I was gonna say, for those who haven't been to cannabis school, can you explain what CBG is to them real quick?
Well, and I'm really bad with words. It's another phytocannabinoid. It's another part of the plant. uh, and it helps with nerve pain. It helps with inflammation. So that's
Mhm.
why when I learned about CBG, can you say the word that CBG stands for? Because I cannot say it.
Nope, it's a big
Kind of
one.
a
You can
Genero.
look it up.
It's kind of like a Genero or something. It's
Yeah.
got a G end, And
Yep.
so when I learned about this and it said inflammation, that was the big thing that it targeted. I was like, I got to be all over this. So when I had my clients for gut health, whatever, I started making it. So now I sell and make CBD and CBG.
Okay.
Make my own because I had sold it for 3 years, and not that what I was selling wasn't wonderful. It was great, but I didn't want to be in network marketing anymore because I started my own business. And I wanted to, because a lot of CBD has MCT oil for a carrier, and that's can really irritate people's guts. It's a great product, and a lot of people can take it. But I have gut clients that can take it. So I started making mine with avocado oil, and I can control the strength, and I know what is a good average strength for most people. Most people don't take enough, and then all that stuff. But so my gut health clients now, I recommend they take CBG in the morning because it can give you a little energy, and that's
Okay.
for your inflammation. And then you take CBD in the afternoon or evening. So that's kind of the protocol I
Okay.
take and I recommend for people. And for anybody that's got like restless leg syndromes, I have had clients that have restless leg syndrome, and it's helped them with that because that's neuropathy and nerve pain.
Oh, okay. My father-in-law has that actually, so I'm gonna write that down for him.
Yeah, CBG would be a good thing. Paired with, we know that they work great together. And you can take CBG with CBD, all the different phytocannabinoids working together is what we call the entourage effect for those that don't know.
Yep.
Amanda, but it's basically like you're taking all of the plant and all the things together. And of course, if you take it with with THC, for those that can, and I'm not talking, so many people think when you talk about cannabis and taking THC that you're talking about being high as a kite. And there's so many microdose things you can do with THC. If you add just a little bit into your CBD and your CBG, your body's going to feel the effects much longer, much more, because it's going to lock it into place. That THC locks that into your receptors, and helps it work longer. So I had a 70-year-old patient. I get referrals from a marijuana doctor actually for clients, the people that have never walked into a dispensary. I mean, that's scary. Can you imagine being 70 and you're like, well,
Yeah.
I think that cannabis can help me, but I don't know. And she had this small little cough, this 70-year-old lady, and she was like, I don't know what to do. And so she started microdosing like 2 milligrams actually and smoking it because it helped relax her throat and her cough went away. So
Ah.
yeah, I know, isn't that crazy? Um, so I think, the reason I went to school to be a cannabis coach, I would say the main reason is I needed a cannabis coach when I was sick at home. I needed somebody to direct me to the right product, the right amount, and what do I need? Like, I
Mhm.
don't know what I need. And so I wish I would have had one of myself because I don't think it would have changed things because obviously I found the CBD, but the pain medication I was on, the hydrocodone, the steroids. Oh, steroids. Hate them. Hate those son of a bitches, but they're a necessary evil sometime, right? So
Right.
I was on them for a long time, like 9 months, and I could never go off of them. Every time I'd like taper down to like that 10 to 5 milligram ratio,
Mhm.
my body's like, nope, we like steroids. We want you back. And so
Oh.
I would get a flare up. So I could never go off of them. I was able to get off steroids between the time I started taking CBD oil and my surgery. And
Ah.
so that was I forgot. See, I forget these things because because I forget. My surgeon said that was one of the biggest things because what happens, and I'm going to mess this up because I'm not a doctor. When you go into surgery and you're on steroids, it's like your body's relying on something. Like it's more dangerous for you to go through surgery and be on anesthesia because you
Okay.
may not like breathe better. You may not breathe on your own, or there's something that has
Okay.
to do with it. So being I was able to get off steroids before surgery probably was one of the reasons I had such a good recovery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because my body wasn't relying on those. And yeah, those are like, steroids are bad, 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 bad. Yeah. So anyway, that's So where I'm at now, I don't take any medication, haven't seen a GI doctor forever. Again, I'm not saying that people shouldn't take medicine,
Right.
and I'm not here to say that doctors are bad. I mean, I'm not one of those people, because obviously I needed I needed a
Mhm.
doctor back then. But I also feel, and I know because I go to Crohn's disease support groups, people are diagnosed with Crohn's disease and the doctor automatically wants to put them on a biologic that's $5,000 a month. Well, you know what? Let's try something. Let's try some food changes. Let's try some movement. Let's
Mhm.
try all the other things first and use that for a last resort, not a first resort. You
Mhm.
know, try a pill or try, there's other little things you can do to help yourself. And that's my message is it's always been to take control of your health and live life with purpose. And that's two parts. Taking control of your health means working with your doctor if you have a
Mhm.
doctor. Changing doctors if your doctor is not in line with what you think your health regimen should be like, working with a nutritionist, working with a holistic person if you believe in that, and not just going right towards the big drug. Because
Right.
I can tell you from experience, from sitting in an office for 4 years, every 2 months for 2 hours, the nurse that gave me those injections or set me up in those infusions, she was having free lunch every day. And that free lunch was from the pharmacy reps. And that's not a lie.
Mhm.
So, and I'm not bashing on doctors or nurses or anything because it's their livelihood, but most doctors don't even know about the endocannabinoid system.
Mhm.
And they go to 1 3 hour nutrition class.
Mhm.
So what works for me, what works for you, what works for this person is all different. I don't say, oh, you should be on keto, you should be paleo, you shouldn't eat dairy, you shouldn't. I'm not the type of I'm like, you need to figure out what works for you.
Right.
Just like with cannabis, food does not work the same for everybody either. I mean, I know what bothers me and what doesn't bother me, and it's going to be different for you. So the working with a coach like yourself for cannabis to figure out what works, that's why it's not a one and done thing, just like anything else. I think doctors just shove something on somebody and it's like, that's not necessarily what needs to happen. We've, I get so irritated. I had the sinus crud that was going around on the holidays and I did a teledoc thing because I knew I was to the point where I needed antibiotics. I hate medication, but again, I had a sinus infection and, I
Mhm.
tried everything else and I was pretty not feeling like crap. And she said, you're 52 and you don't take medication. She's like, and I said, every freaking doctor says that to me. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, it should be the other way around. Like,
Yeah.
it should be anomaly. If you take medication should be like last resort, not
Mhm.
first resort. And we all turn to it. I did turn to antibiotics in December because I had a horrible infection, but it'd been years since I'd taken antibiotics.
Right.
But I also know that when I take them, it jacks my bowels up.
Right.
So there's that. So now I'm writing a book. It's not organized, it's a mess, it's whatever it is, but that's
But
the
it's
direction
yours and that's
it's
exciting.
mine. And it is exciting. And I have a title and I'm hoping my big picture is to do speaking engagements to give people that it's like I want to give people that bottle of CBD that I got in January of 2018.
Mhm.
I want to give people the bottle of hope.
Yes.
Because if you don't have hope or you don't have a positive outlook, it's really hard mentally to get there in your healing.
Mhm.
Um, I've done mindset work with people and I was not in a good mindset in 2018. I was in denial and I didn't have hope. And once I got hope, I feel like it gave me the catapult to start healing um, in lots of different ways.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
So
wonderful. That's so fantastic. I'm so
yeah,
excited for
life's
you.
good. Life's good. I feel very blessed that I'm a huge believer in things happen for a reason.
Mhm.
And that day that I found out about CBD and the path that all led me there was laid out. And that's why I feel like what my voice and my story, that's what my purpose is in life. I feel like I know 100% that's why I was put on this earth.
Yep. Yeah.
People say, why me? Like when I was sick, I said, why me? And I listened to somebody and they said, you have to say, why not me? And that's what I say now. Why not me? Why
Mhm.
I do that to help people now.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. And I
Yeah.
think the more I talk to people that have gone through the CCI program and everything, that everybody has a story that catapulted them into this. And it's not a place that very many saw themselves being in the first place. And that's why I feel like it's so important to all share our stories and to come together like we are and to just blast it to the world. Because if me sharing my story or you sharing your story, if one person can take that and find relief from whatever they're going through, like, to me, that's worth it.
Yeah.
And
And,
we
and
don't
one
know who needs to hear it or who's gonna see it, and that's the joy of doing it the way we are.
Right. And one thing I want to say real quick, another part of my story I forgot about anxiety.
Ah,
So that brain gut health thingy that everybody talks about, and everybody's
yep,
like, "What's up with this?" Okay, so I would get flare ups when my Crohn's disease, when I would have flare ups. It would be about 2 weeks before something big. Nothing bad, a vacation, a wedding, a whatever, and I never figured it out because I didn't know what I didn't know then. Um, but that was the brain gut connection.
mhm,
So I would have anxiety, it would cause a flare up. What happens then? Then you have more anxiety. It's just a gerbil wheel you get on, and it's like,
yeah,
somebody fucking stop it, please, so I can get off this horrible train wreck.
right.
And CBD changed that for me. I don't have anxiety anymore. Like, I have to tell this quick story because I just told it the other day to a girlfriend that suffers with anxiety. I went on vacation a year after I started taking CBD, um, and I spilt my bottle of CBD oil in Mexico. Like,
Oh,
I was like, oh well, we're going home in a couple days. It's no big deal. Like, I am like seriously like jogging up the stairs to go get a massage. Like, cool. Like, here we go. And anxiety, like this bitch right here went smack. I'm like,
oh, no.
out of nowhere. I don't know if you suffer anxiety,
Oh, yeah,
yeah. And I had the anxiety that you had no idea where it was coming from. Well, I did, but I didn't, like my
right.
brain wasn't connecting the dots at the time. The rest of the trip, I don't know all I contributed to is the fact that I'd run out of my CBD and I hadn't taken it for a couple of days. It had, brought me into such a homeostasis
Right.
place with my endocannabinoid system. And I can miss it now and it's not a big deal. Everything's kind of, I always tell people your body, your endocannabinoid system, and those that don't know what the endocannabinoid system is, Google it. It is our system within our body that has receptors all over that's receptive to cannabis.
Mhm.
But the I always tell people your endocannabinoid system is your body's like a block of Swiss cheese. This is how I can figure out what that all means. We all have different size holes, right? We all have different amount of holes. Cannabis fills those holes and makes us whole again.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
I
I'm
just
visually seeing it, and I'm
yes,
all the graphs I've seen, that
yes.
is so great. Yes, I'm
And
going to
sometimes
steal that.
so like I know people, let's talk about the THC part of it because people can relate to that. I know people that can take a 5 milligram edible and they're high as a kite and they're like a big person that you would think that, 6'5" and 250-pound football player. I'm just think that's just I don't know why I'm thinking about the Kansas City Chiefs right now, football. And then little old me, could, if I did like took 10 and it wouldn't feel it. So it's because my endocannabinoid system is different than yours or anybody else's. And
Right.
we don't know what that looks like.
Yes.
You could take 10 drops of CBD and it could do nothing for you. It just really depends on your body. And those
Mhm.
holes come from toxins, disease, bad food, stress. You're up. I mean, there's so many different ways it comes from. But
Mhm.
once we are back to homeostasis, being like how you were when you were born, and we fill those holes, your body is meant to repair itself, and your immune system is meant to repair itself. Yes, medicine's wonderful. Surgery's great when we need it, whatever. But instead of jumping to the medical side, we need to jump to let me see if I can fix myself first.
Yes.
And cannabis can help people do that. I mean, and it just frustrates me. We talked a little bit about people not being able to get it and then getting it, not getting it, and all the, lots of different states are going back and forth with that. And it's just frustrating because there's no reason people shouldn't have access to it in the right frame.
Yes. And that's a huge part of it too. And that's why becoming a cannabis educator for me became so important. And my goal, like I said, is to become a cannabis health coach eventually, is because, you know, my mom's a double mastectomy cancer survivor. And so she uses cannabis for neuropathy and for fibromyalgia. And so that was part of what started me on this journey as well. Was she's like, hey, I was in my Christian chat room and one of the guys said I need to get some CBD gummies. Can you help me? And I was like, does this mean all the years I was grounded, I get I can get those back now?
Right. Did she take CBG?
Not yet because I just learned about it. So
Yeah,
we're going to be introducing that as well.
definitely.
And so I'm excited to, share that knowledge with her, like, cause I'm just finishing up my coursework. So,
Yeah.
that's something when we go down in March to see her, I'm going to be discussing with her then. But yeah, I'm excited to see where that goes and I'll have to keep you posted as to how that works for her as well.
Yeah, I know,
But
there's like for myself, the CBG flower I get is from a hemp farm. You can order it online. It's legal in all 50 states because it's it's from hemp farm. But yeah, it's just there's so many different parts of the plant that help us for different reasons. And we're
yeah,
just starting on the surface of like what that looks like. There's so much more
right.
knowledge. And I want to say this right now because this is just something I believe in. The synthetic THC products that are coming out there, people, you just please be careful with them. There's so much. I was, and I don't know how you feel about it personally, but I
Yeah,
was
I'm
so
not a fan.
I'm not a fan either. Most people that are in our school have gone to our school aren't either because it's not really the plant. I was sent the company I buy my CBD and CBG flower from. I love their products, but they also sell Delta 8 gummies. They sent me a sample for free. I was like, okay, I know people that use this. I'm going to try it. I just want to see. Holy hell. I felt like crap for 24 hours. I felt like I took like 5 milligrams. And I felt like shit the next day. I felt like I was on a synthetic drug. It was weird.
Mhm.
Have you ever tried Delta 8?
Yes. Before I started school
Yeah.
here, I got a bottle from Colorado, and actually, they put my husband in the hospital.
The Delta 8
Um,
did?
yes. He took a gummy, and ended up having a really bad reaction to it.
Oh,
And he thought he was having a heart attack, and he just turned 45. And I literally had to take him to the hospital, and they put him on Ativan and had him hooked up to all the monitors and everything else. And, since then, we've found that he can do all the regular Delta 9 just fine. He's okay. But the Delta 8 gummies, and I, even myself, they whack you out. Like, I don't know how else to
yeah.
explain it. And it's some people enjoy that. And if that's what you're looking for, then go for it and go forth and have fun. But
I
for,
didn't
like I
like
said,
it.
my husband, it
Oh,
literally put him in the hospital. He had took a 25 milligram gummy, which he normally only takes 5. He didn't realize there was that much difference. So it really spun him out. And yeah, it was, I mean, we can laugh about it now and like the whole story I'll go into
right.
another time. But yeah, at the time he was terrified. And I was like, okay, the only thing he did different today was take that gummy.
Well, and that's another reason I wanted to get out of network marketing just in general, just because, it had its place and time and I learned a lot and I, whatever, made some money with it. But I wanted to have my own company. But that company I was with was selling Delta 8 gummies. And so like people could just go online and order it and they don't even know what they're taking. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
it's like Delta 9. They're like, oh, this is great. And they were 25 milligram gummies. And I'm like, this, and then there was a disclaimer, we can't send this to this state, this state, and this state, and this state. I'm like, well, why do you think that is? It's not good
Mhm.
for people. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, crazy. I'm glad I brought that up though, because I've never, I mean, I don't know very many people that have tried it. I mean, I do, but
Mhm.
I just thought something's wrong with me. I don't like this at all. So just
Mhm.
don't take that shit, people. Don't take the synthetic stuff. Don't do it.
Right. Well, and it's no different than anything else that's synthetic. But before CCI, I would have never known that it was synthetic, like that it wasn't, because I've heard of it, and so of course it's got to be okay because they're
Right.
selling it. So it's what's the difference? And I didn't do my research and I didn't look into it. And trust me, now we do, and we look up the COAs and all of that now. And so that's why, again, spreading the word and getting this information out there is so important, because so many people don't know what they don't know.
Well, and what you said about the COA, certificate of analysis, if anybody doesn't know what she's talking about, I was like mold, like whatever. And there was a girl I met with the CBD company I sold for, and her son got violently sick. He started taking CBD because I think he had ADHD or autism or something. It was something, she'd read and researched, and she got it from like a local store, gas station, or something. And the mold in it made him so sick. So that's another reason why I started making my own too. Like now I can't send my CBD oil to a lab, but I know what I put in mine. It's 3 ingredients and that's it. But don't go to the gas stations and buy your CBD. Don't go to these, go to a reputable place that knows what they're talking about. And they're just not selling a product to, because it does make a big difference. And I think CBD and a lot of stuff got a bad rap because people did that.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, no, CBD does work. Now, not for everybody, I
Right.
mean, it just doesn't work for everybody, but it's worked for most people that I know if they do it right, like take it twice a day, take it consistently, not just like when, you can microdose and take more, but so many people think, oh, I'm going to take it, I'm going to feel better right now. It's got to build up in your system. It's got to start to fill those holes. And that takes time, to fill the holes.
Well, and it also depends like what you ate that day. Did you take it on a full stomach? Did you take it on an empty stomach? And I always try to compare it because everybody knows alcohol. I'm like, think about when you drink. If you drink on a full stomach versus drinking on an empty stomach, how are you going to react to it? Are you in a good mood or are you in a bad mood? If you're in a bad mood, your cortisol is high, so it's going to take more to counteract the cortisol. So there's so much that goes into it that I never thought about before doing all of this. And I'm sure you didn't either.
Well, even the THC. I mean, if you eat a gummy after a full fat meal, you're going to feel it more. There's just all kinds of different things, even with the THC. So people just need to be careful. I know everybody's so excited. All these dispensaries have opened up, but just be careful. I always just tell people, you don't. I had a client, she was referred to me by a medical marijuana doctor because she got and her kids said, well, Mom, take this. And she took a 10 milligram gummy and was driving. Had to pull over and have her kids pick her up because she was high as balls. I'm like, she's 70 years old. What? Oh my God, don't, so, THC can be fun and it can be recreational and you can use it for relaxation. That's great. And medical, I always tell people it can be preventative too. You can use it to keep things at bay. And I totally believe in the plant, but be careful with what you do because it just, it can, just like alcohol, it can cause a lot of bad things. Which, by the way, I quit drinking. It's been 11 months ago. I quit drinking. I don't drink alcohol anymore.
Me either. I quit last March.
Oh mine was February. Go on. That's awesome. High five. Yeah, I have you read the book The Naked Mind?
No, but I'm writing it down.
Write it down. Any of you that are listening to this podcast, and I wouldn't consider myself an alcoholic, but we drank all the time. We lived on a lake, a glass of wine. I made my own wine. It was like, go out to dinner, have wine. It was just, that's society. Do not blame yourself, blame society. Because most people, AA tells people they're bad, they're alcoholics, they're a bad person. It's society. Watch the commercials, watch life. It's once you quit drinking, you open your eyes. But The Naked Mind, I read it. I did a challenge called the 75 Hard Challenge. I don't know if you've heard of it, but 75 days of 5 tasks or 10 tasks you have to do every day. It's very hard, but I quit drinking because that's you can't drink, and read this book. You had to read every day. The Naked Mind by Annie Grace. She's not proponent of AA. She just tells her story about society and marketing and all that stuff, that has to do with it. Like, oh, wine tasting, it goes with this food. It does go with it because it's alcohol, but it's bullshit,
Well,
yeah.
it was like what I said when we here in town, the local candy store, my 9-year-old daughter bought beer flavored or jelly beans and rose flavored jelly beans that came in a beer can and a wine bottle.
Oh, for God's sakes.
So, that's how, yeah, but society, it's fine. And they can sell alcohol infused edibles at the candy store. There's Jack Daniel's candy bars and Captain Morgan candy bars, and that's fine. But heaven forbid a dispensary come to town where people could get their medicine, and and you have to be 21 to even walk in the door. But that's a whole nother.
And I do.
That's a whole nother.
And I think, cannabis for kids. I don't know much. Honestly, I would never have, if anybody asked me, I wouldn't give them advice on it because I just don't know enough about that. I do know that kids under 18, their brains aren't developed all the way, and it can mess with them. Like if you were a young stoner, you might have some brain issues later,
right. Oh, yeah.
There is something to be said for young kids using a lot of cannabis, but controlled environments, those kids have seizures and those type of things. I totally get it. But I now that I don't drink, I now compare the alcohol industry to big pharma.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the money.
Yep.
It's all about, look at the Super Bowl. Look how many it's all big pharma advertising. It's all alcohol. And I hate both of them. I mean, and I'm not a teetotaler, which, I don't bag on people for drinking. I mean, all my friends drink. Great.
Yep.
I just chose not to. And I feel amazing because I don't. But, yeah. And, cannabis gets a bad rap for the word stoner too. I mean, we all hate that word because it's like people think that people are stoners. They get high and they sit on the couch and eat food all day. It's like, no, that's not what it is. There's so many different facets of it.
Yeah. I just tell everyone to call me your highness. And that's why I have my robe. So I walk around in my robe and everyone calls me your highness.
That's a good one. My husband says I'm high maintenance.
No, there you go. I gotta say though, one of my biggest supporters and for staying sober has actually been my local beer and wine store. I have to give a huge shout out to Portview because they actually got CBD drinks in at my request, so that when we do have big events, because like I said, at the marina, we're always having parties and there's always people around, I could still have something in my hand and not feel like left out and get those, and a lot of people, to their credit, would be like, I feel weird drinking around you, and does it bother you? And they were trying to be considerate, and I appreciate them so much for it. But as long as I have something in my hand, nobody thinks twice about it.
Right. And yeah, we make mocktails. We make mocktails every day. I used to bartend. That's how I made my alcohol was a big part of my life. That's how I made my money. But we make mocktails. Like my husband's golfing. He'll be home at 6. When he gets home, we'll have we're having Mexican food. I will make a mocktail margarita, and it is amazing. There's so many great Ritual mezcal tequila NA. It's so good. I'm like, it was the habit.
Yes.
Of having a drink at night or whatever, I mean, we go to happy hours all the time. We still go. We take our own thing, just like everybody takes their beer, we take our mocktails.
Yep. And I take my CBD drinks and exactly. There's so many options, but again, had I not been on this journey, I would have known about any of it.
And I think if I wouldn't have had cannabis, in lieu of alcohol, like something to, just, I don't know, to change things up for the evening. I make my own alcohol tinctures at home. I mean, it is alcohol, but it's, I'm using a dropper, like
the dropper, right?
And we put that in our drinks. I make my own edibles at home. I love being in the kitchen with my cannabis. It's so fun.
I'm just learning, so
Do you have any of the machines?
I don't, not yet. I've been eyeing some. So Michelle Crawford has links to all of that on hers, and so I've been on stalking on her webpage and looking, and it's okay, I've got a dry vaporizer picked out, and I've got one of the little because they just came out with the purple ones from Ardent, and purple's my favorite color, so I'm I'm gonna have to get one of these, I think.
They have an herb vaporizer now, Ardent does?
Oh, not the vaporizer is not from Ardent. The vaporizer was Planet of the Vapes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they had a teal one of those. So I'm going to get the teal one of those because that's my other favorite color. And then the purple little ardent machine. And so
And I
I've
was,
got quite the wish list going on. And my birthday's in February, just in case
yay!
anybody wants to give me anything.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, I bought the magic butter machine before being in CCI just because a friend had told me about it. And I love to be in the kitchen, and I was making garlic butters with it and, all kinds of fun stuff now. And then I got the ardent machine, and I'm not affiliate for either one. So that's why I'm like, what the ardent machine really is an all-in-one, because you can decarb and infuse all in
Okay.
one thing, and you can do smaller amounts. The magic butter, you have to do 2-cup infusions.
Oh,
So
wow.
I couldn't play with recipes. I'm like, I have
Right.
2 cups of coconut oil or 2 cups of butter or 2 cups of
Okay.
CBD or whatever. Now I kind of pride myself on my CBD and CBG because it's small batch.
Okay.
I do like very small batches of it at a time.
Okay.
So the ardent machine, I think, is the way to go
Okay.
for somebody that wants to just make some stuff at home.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Because that, like I said, I have a wish list going, and my husband's like, what else?
Yeah.
And
It
I'm like,
really is just, and you don't have to buy them, but I didn't buy any of the insert things or anything. I just
okay.
that and I use a regular strainer, to strain
Okay.
everything out. And it works really well.
So
So
what's your favorite carrier oil?
avocado oil,
Okay.
because I can get it pretty inexpensive from Costco. I have not found a person yet that has gut issues with it. MCT
Okay.
oil, for some reason, can really bother people's guts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so that's what I use. And for my CBD, I use CBD flour, sunflower lecithin, not soy lecithin, because soy is a no-no. And then avocado oil. That's it. And you
Okay.
have to, for those, listening, you have to have an emulsifier or something, because you're talking about a fat, it's like oil and water. So the sunflower lecithin is an emulsifier that I use in there. It seems to, a powder, it seems to
Okay.
be pretty good. So yeah.
We're really lucky. There's a hemp farm, a US, and they're certified organic here in like about 15 minutes from where I live, Stony Lake Naturals. And I'm actually meeting with her later this week to because they have their own tinctures and gummies and smokable flour. And so I want to go through them and try to get some stuff and start playing at home as well. So that's why I'm curious to find out.
Do they sell their flour?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll put the link. I'll give it to you because they're
Give me the link.
phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm always looking for other flour just to try different stuff. The place I get it from, they sell it in bulk, so I get a pretty good pricing on it. But again, I'm always looking for something different, maybe a different strain, or because I usually get Bubba Kush because it's a high CBD one that I like. But yeah, I'm open to trying different stuff.
Yeah, I'll definitely give you her. I'll put the links. I'll send it to you, and I'll put it below this video as well, so anyone can look them up. But yeah, they're a local family, and like the whole family does it together. And you can, when you go to their website, it's got their whole story and everything. But
I love it.
we use their products for our pets. And actually, fun side note, if you use their pet CBD and you have dandruff in the winter, you can just put like a drop or two, and it'll get rid of your dandruff. And it also works great as like a face moisturizer too. So
yeah, I make dog CBD. I make dog CBD with bacon grease.
Okay.
For my dog, she takes it. Yeah, because she's hot. She's a hot mess.
Who's not these days?
I know, right? Like, well, and I think that's a hard thing with pets. You don't know if it's helping them because they can't tell you. It's
Right.
like, it's just good for her. It's good for me. Stella, come here. Come here. She just got up from her nap. I was like, I hope because she's very needy, because she's old. She has degenerative bone disease in her back.
Oh.
Boxer. You want to say hi, Stella? Can you say hi? Say hi. There she is.
Oh, hi, Stella.
She's all gray. She's a gray girl. Anyway, oh my gosh, this has been so fun. Like, we've just been all over the place, but it's been so fun. I love it. And I hope people got some education out of this. And
absolutely. And I appreciate you taking the time. So I'm going to stop recording now. We can continue to chit chat if you want, or I just want to thank you so much for coming on PotWater Presents and sharing your story with us. And I look forward to having you on again sometime.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for having me, Amanda.
Thank you.